What would happen if we all tried to be like Santa and learned to give, as only he can give, of ourselves, our talents, our love, and our hearts? Maybe if we could all learn Santa's beautiful lesson, maybe there would finally be peace on earth and goodwill toward man.
Welcome, fans of Christmas. This is the 6 months of Christmas with your host, Kevin Undergaro. With me in studio today, as always, Jeff Graham.
Co-elf Jeff Graham, so excited to be here. Kev, if ever there was a topic that got me excited, it's today's topic. I'll leave it as a surprise, but we're going to get into the topics in just a minute. It's going to be an amazing show today.
And of course, we're joined by, it is a very treat, we have an intern elf, Erin.
We do.
Who happens to be an intern at the AfterBuzz TV, the Christmas 24/7 channel.
Yep. Specifically
at that
all
channel.
I do all week.
That's it. Please subscribe.
Yes.
And we were talking about today's subject, which is going to be Christmas toys over the generations. We thought it'd be great to have some from your generation. So we're all from 3 different generations. I mean, Ryan's in the booth. He's probably more from your generation, Erin.
Yes.
Hello, Ryan.
Hello.
Ryan.
Happy to be here.
And yeah, we're going to go over all the different toys. And we're going to do a special segment with Elf Vito, who's running around there somewhere. We're going to bring him in for a special segment because he has a great crossover toy that he got handed down from his dad that I think just speaks to many generations. So yeah. And hey, Jeff, I guess before we get too deep, can you remind everyone the premise of the show and then also some of the other things we're going to touch on tonight?
Absolutely. We have a 2-part mission here on the 6 months of Christmas. One is to extend the spirit of the season beyond the month of December and to gear up for Christmas and the holiday season. And every week we're getting closer, Kev. I can smell the nutmeg.
Now we're in October.
Yes.
Christmas creep.
It's the Christmas
coming
creep.
up.
Coming up. And yeah, that will not only be all we're doing today, guys. That is the mission of the show. But as Kevin mentioned, we're going over toys. It's toys today. Toys across the generation. Can't wait to go over it. We also do have some store creation updates. And even more excitingly, I have a very interesting and technologically related Christmas movie update for Hallmark fans coming up later. There's finally an improving system for you to make sure you're hitting all those Hallmark movies this season. So just so much goodness coming up in today's stocking of a show.
And we may even have, a little bit of holiday spirit that we can lend to someone else out there who's in need. So we're always talking about this extending the holiday spirit of giving, forgiving, kindness that you normally experience in those 3 weeks of the holiday season. But on this show, we like to extend it a little longer. And so when we open the show, Erin, you mentioned that there's someone in your Facebook internship group that maybe fell in a little hard times.
Yeah, the company they were interning for got shut down really unexpectedly, so maybe they could join me and be an elf.
Yeah,
here.
and so this person has no internship.
Yeah.
And you were saying how sad it was. And so then, of course, at the Christmas 24/7 here, right, in the 6 months of Christmas, Jeff, what did we say?
We said, well, if you've seen It's a Wonderful Life, this kind of thing can happen. People can fall in hard times. And we are now open to consideration for the orphaned intern out there in LA.
Yes.
We'll adopt him.
Yes. So you'll let him know?
Yeah.
And
Okay.
we've had good luck with interns from your school. So I think, as Kevin knows, it's within the AfterBuzz family. He's an Emersonian. So
All right, so you'll keep us updated?
Yes, I will.
So we'll reach out to him and tell him, all hope is not lost.
Yeah.
yes, does he talk like Tiny Tim? Because
I
if that's
mean,
the case,
he can if that's a qualification, I'm sure.
God bless us.
everyone.
And God bless Emerson.
Yes, Emerson College, the, good school. Good school. All right, so do we want to start toys?
Well, I quickly just want to say, if you're tuned in, we're going to get into the meat of the show, but we want to thank you so much for joining us. We have been on our iTunes looking for those 5-star reviews, and they're coming in more and more, but what we want is not only the ratings, we also want the reviews, because when you guys review our podcast, it bumps it up, and, our show's about spreading holiday cheer and wellness and goodness, and a little bit of goodness you can give back to us is by rating us on iTunes. And if you give us a nice rating and review on iTunes, we will read your review on air. So just saying that to any of our listeners. We'll shout you out next week because we are officially weekly.
Yeah, and we've been getting great comments on the YouTube page.
We have.
As well, and someone had sent us a video about a Christmas cave. And I thought I was going to, maybe we can pull that up later.
We'll look for it right now.
Yeah, it's a Christmas cave, very interesting. It only opens for a very short amount of time. And one of our fans sent it in, and I want to give them thanks.
right.
So
Lovely.
if you go to last week's show and look in the comments,
Okay.
the clip's actually in there.
Copy that.
All right, so Jeff, your peak of toyness, which I'm saying is like from 3 to like 13. Let's
Yes.
say here's the peak of. Okay, what years were those?
So let's see, that would have been like mid 90s to mid 2000s would have been approximately when I was in peak toydom.
Okay.
I will say, I don't know if I'm the conventional sort of typical Midwestern adolescent male in terms of toys. If I was running down my top 3 or 4, the one very quintessential toy that I needed and that I wanted and that everyone wanted was the Nintendo 64. And I played a video during our first show that really speaks to what the Nintendo 64 was, but I was doing some research, and in the fall/Christmas of '96, this was really the toy that everyone wanted, to the point where celebrities like Matthew Perry and Steven Spielberg were trying to reach out to Nintendo specifically to see if they could get their hands on this. This was, for you video game nerds, the first 3D console, Mario 64, a really important sort of piece of video game history there. And I think I mentioned this in the first episode, but my parents put the N64 game in my stocking. I thought that's all I was getting, and I'd have to get the system myself. And then, lo and behold, under the tree was the system.
Oh my goodness!
very
Now,
exciting.
wrapped, Jeff, or unwrapped?
System was wrapped.
They wrap it.
In fact, it might have been that thing where, wait a minute, is there one more toy hiding under the tree?
Oh,
And then I
Like the
opened it.
Christmas stories.
Yes.
Oh
exactly.
my God!
So
Your
my
Red
parents
Ryder
were
BB
into some
gun.
Christmas programming. But here's where it gets a little weird, and you'll learn a little bit more about me.
Okay.
The other highlight Christmas toy for me that I think Ryan just had pulled up was a analog to video media converter
Oh,
that I wanted when I was about
Jeff.
10 years old. It's called Adaptec Video.
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 What this does is it takes videos shot on like a sort of handheld VHS camera, and you can put them on a computer to edit them. So, unsurprising, it's young little filmmaker Jeffrey.
That's amazing,
That's so
Jeff.
cute.
Jeff, the Nintendo game.
Yeah,
Do you have any cravings to play those games today?
totally. Yeah.
And do people? Because I know with Atari 2600, which is more my generation,
Yeah.
That's a bit of a fad. People will pick up. They sold the old consoles for a while, or the new version of the console for a while, just as a hoot. I mean, literally, the joystick itself, it replicates everything the console did. So you could have a joystick just hooked up USB. But for your generation with Nintendo, do people buy those Nintendos and use them anymore?
Yeah, I'd say like it's still considered in like, let's say there's 50 video game consoles that have been released since the Atari. I'd say the Nintendo 64 is still probably quintessentially top 5 to 10 in terms of its importance, its relevance, and its
Yeah, but are they
playability.
that's my question. Are they using it? Is anyone using it?
I mean, our friends will still play them when we're home for spring break. We'll still play Super Smash Brothers. I mean, Ryan,
Really?
I have to ask you, how do you view this system in terms of your age?
Nintendo 64 is something I've only played a few times. However, the
Wow.
games that have evolved from it are timeless. And when you just said Super Smash Bros., I mean, that I played that on Wii, I played that on PlayStation, I played that on everything. So the games that were in that console are timeless, and I definitely play with my friends whenever I'm home.
Yeah, so I think probably people my age are still playing it, but it sounds like the youth,
Yeah.
maybe not so much.
I wasn't that into video games. Like
Yeah.
I had a Wii and I had like the little DS, but I didn't play that many games. Like I just wasn't really into it.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
All right, so Jeff, what else? You've also got more than 2 presents.
I do. So the other one we have, I think a lot of us are going to be talking about Hot Wheels, but I'll save that for when Vito comes in because that's a huge crossover gift. Ryan, can you pull up the photo of the Kinect's Big Ball Factory?
Yes, right here.
So, Kevin, have you heard of Kinects before? Have you seen these before?
I have seen them. I don't know I never knew the name.
Yeah, that's what I said.
This is really cool.
Yeah, so for those of you guys listening on the podcast, Kinects are sort of a variant of Legos, but they're more like rods and connectors and less so bricks. So it's more for building structures and less for building.
Are the straws bendable?
They can be depending on the
A little
connectors
bit.
you use.
Yeah,
They're
so
pliable.
so you know what? I had an earlier version of this
Cool.
and I loved it.
Yeah.
I loved it. I think this is really cool.
I was very into, you probably won't be shocked to learn this, Kev, but more than like sort of building Lego, Star Wars, Harry Potter type of things, I was sort of into the physics of building. That was what like I really got off on. So this was cool. This was the Big Ball Factory, and the way it worked was you had an automatic motor that would run balls up all the way to the top, and they would run different courses and sort of show physics phenomena.
So you're a nerd.
That's
And so as
was
I'm
and am.
by the way, as I'm looking it up, they still sell these, and now that it's deemed classic.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So they, it's not. It's probably more of. It's probably not the go-to toy of the day.
Yeah.
You know, I'm seeing the 3-in-1 classic amusement park building set by Connects.
Yeah, it was a really
So-
cool. I loved my Connects, and that was a fun for me and my dad to kind of bond because he's an engineer. I feel like that was a fun chance for us to sort of do something together. And then I think, Ryan, do I have Tamagotchi pulled up as well?
Tamagotchi.
Scamagotchi.
I don't have that. Oh, is this it?
No,
It's
don't have
actually
it.
not. That's okay. I'll just explain Tamagotchi. Kevin, have you heard of Tamagotchis?
No, I'm
I had
looking
a
it up now.
Tamagotchi too.
Ooh.
Oh, is this the digital?
Yes.
The
Yeah.
digital pet? Yes. You know
Yeah.
what?
Our
No, in my
generation's pet rock,
in
dare I
my
say.
in my research, I saw this.
Yeah.
Please go ahead. Tell me about the.
So the Tamagotchi, a handheld pocket pet is really how it could be described. Sort of looks like a keychain, and it's kind of a little black and white animal, kind of.
Yeah, it's like 3 pixels, so it was
Yeah.
unclear what it was supposed to actually be. It's like some kind of animal.
Kind of
pet.
cat-like, I
Yeah.
would say. And you feed it, and you play with it, and it poops. And that's pretty much the only 3 things that happen. And they grow, and inevitably they die. So
If you leave them alone for too long, they die.
yeah, so I feel like it was much more to treat
The
children
stakes
about
are so high.
Aaron, did you have one?
Yes, I did.
No,
and
oh my
I let it
God.
die very quickly. I think.
You
Yeah.
weren't into it.
Not that I wasn't into it. It just was a lot
They
of
were
pressure.
very needy. That's
They
the
were.
thing is people would be at school between periods
I
trying
remember
to
like being at the
keep their
dinner
pet
table
alive.
trying to keep it alive, and my mom's like, "Well, put it away." I'm like, "If I put it away, you're gonna have to buy me another one because it's gonna die."
Brilliant. You know,
Yeah.
we have somebody that I have a friend who owns a toy company, and
Is it Santa?
we have to do a spin-off where we really go deeper on some of these toys. That's incredible. Ryan, were you familiar with this toy?
I was. I actually think this evolved into what later became known as Webkins. And they were online pets that you would have a physical pet stuffed animal with and then be able to take care of it as well. They wouldn't die, though. But this was
Yeah.
the OG. This
Well,
was the original online
They would.
pet.
They wouldn't die, but if you didn't log in for a certain amount of time, they would expire.
That's just as bad.
Yeah.
I was always shocked by like the existential dread of your Tamagotchi dying. I feel like
That is a lot of pressure for a kid.
a lot of pressure, and it taught kids responsibility and also scarred a number of them as well. So love my Tamagotchi.
And it looks like they're still making them.
Wow,
Are they? Oh.
that's incredible.
Yeah.
And then the last thing, oh, this was a fun one. This speaks a lot to, again, I wasn't super into action figures, but for those of you guys who know my current love of the Great British Baking Show, I have gotten pretty into baking, and I guess it started with creepy crawlers. Have you guys heard of, and Dr. Dreadful, those were the two, creepy crawlers and Dr.
yeah.
Dreadful. It was sort of like, Kevin, I think you'll be interested in this, because it was sort of like the male version of the Easy Bake Oven, where
Oh, interesting.
you kind of make gummies. You're making gummy candies, and they're in the shape of spiders, but it's the same kind of mixing and heating up.
Yeah, no,
and-
I know. And this has been around a long time, Jeff.
Has it really?
Yes.
Wow.
So the creepy crawlers have been around for a while.
I did not know that.
Yeah, and I don't think before the earlier versions, my generation, they were not edible. They were toxic. So, you know what I mean? Like, but back then, before helicopter parenting, it was like, shut up. You're lucky I got you anything.
You're poison.
And today it's they updated. But yeah, no, those have been around for a while.
Wow, that's cool. And then the other big thing is, of course, I was very into Harry Potter. So, Ryan, I do think we have a Harry Potter costume that I'm donning.
Oh.
It's not the highest quality photo, but this is
Wow.
this was actually
Jeff, you make a good Harry Potter.
at the time, yeah, I had the lightning screen. And that was my
love
floppy
it.
fro days. My nickname in middle school was Jufro. So,
Oh.
yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
You look great.
Thank you. And I'd say that it kind of is a pretty accurate. I was very into like books and like I wasn't as much of a toy action figure type. I was like oftentimes building forts and hanging out with my imaginary friends.
Yeah.
Probably won't be shocked to learn that based on the photo that was just displayed. But that's a pretty good look at
right.
Jeff as a kid.
Now, Ryan,
Yes, how we doing?
your toys.
My toys. Well, first off, I actually think Vito Scuddy is available if we want to mention his by any chance.
Yeah, can we swing him over?
We can swing him in right here, actually.
Great, we're getting Vito on the
We're gonna
booth.
put Vito on the booth real
Hi,
quick.
Vito.
For you podcast listeners, you definitely should check. This is a behind-the-scenes look at the AfterBuzz TV studios.
Yeah.
Hello, everyone. Good to
Vito,
be here. I'm
producer
so happy
Vito.
to be on the Christmas 24/7 network. Finally, it's taken so long. But yeah, if I wanted to talk about any of the toys that came in my childhood that were like very, very important to me, the top one that comes to my mind is Hot Wheels. Definitely. My dad actually collected Hot Wheels for his entire childhood, and then gave me his entire collection on like several Christmases throughout my life as like additional gifts. I still have those at home. I have like a bucket full of them. On top of that, my grandmother gave me Legos that like somebody in our family had for way longer than I've been alive.
Wow.
Which I kept for a long time. I actually ended up donating them to a school. I think it was like better use than me just storing them away. And then the last one that I can think of is probably the first time that I got a PlayStation 2. It was my first video game console, and video games have been like such an important part of my life and my creative like ideals that like I can't help but kind of put that in there.
So we just had a discussion on the Nintendo. So is PlayStation 2, do people still play that?
Yeah, but it's considered like a classic console. Since there's a lot of new consoles always coming out, people sometimes just leave behind the old ones, but there's still a knack to like, there are a lot of people that still want to play the old classics that are just on PlayStation 2, that aren't being remade at all, and people still hold it up as one of the best consoles ever. Same with the 64. The 64 is still considered one of the like most historic changing consoles that have ever been made.
Vito, can I ask, because I brought up the 64 when I shared mine. That was like, I've always been a Nintendo guy, but how does the 64 age now? Because I wasn't a PlayStation player, but for someone your age, what is the 64 like in your lens?
So the 64 is super important to a lot of people that I know. Again, I heard you guys kind of talking about Smash earlier, and obviously like Super Smash, which is now one of the biggest franchises that Nintendo has, is very much on the radar for everybody. People see like Super Mario 64, which is like a very, very popular game. People still go back and play that. A lot of people go back to those games to kind of like hack them and like see what they can do with them. But there's also a big community surrounding like speed running those games. I don't know if you guys know of like speed running.
What is that?
It's basically people try to beat world records for beating the game in a certain amount of time. And actually Super Mario 64 is one that is used frequently because there's like glitches in the game that make it so that you can win by like a decimal of a decimal. So people are constantly using these consoles even though there are new consoles. But the 64 is still alive and well. I actually do have one at home that my grandfather gave me that he bought when it originally came out.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Thanks, Vito.
Of course. Thanks for having me, guys.
Vito, back to the Hot Wheels, because that's out of all the
absolutely.
ones you mentioned, that's the most timeless.
Yeah.
Because I think Legos. Ryan, will you look up when Legos were invented? Because I don't want to.
When Legos were invented, Ryan?
Thank you, sir. But Hot Wheels I know have been around, I believe, since the 50s. So, but did you also have tracks and things like that?
Oh yes, that was something that me and my dad did together sometimes. Even he would buy me tracks and he would buy me like the like recent stuff, but also just he had parts.
Right.
And we would just set up little tracks in the house when I was younger, and just kind of went with them. By the way, Legos was invented in 1932.
Whoa.
Yeah. Wow.
Okay. So,
But yeah.
So I was way off on that. Damn. Okay. Yeah. So, and I feel like with Legos and Hot Wheels, I feel like they're both timeless, and we'll talk about that when we go over to my stuff, my toys, which are like 70 years old. But I experimented a lot with my niece and nephews, and to see, and it was interesting to see what they did, how they reacted to some of the old toys.
Yeah.
Vito, thank you very much.
Thank you
sir.
for having me, Kevin. It was so nice to be here, and I'll talk to you guys soon.
Elf
Hopefully
Vito.
on the Christmas 24/7.
Yes. Thank you, Alvito. Yeah, here's the thing with me. I guess I took this assignment the wrong way, and I just went by the toys that were popular in my time, not necessarily the ones I owned. My family was they weren't well off. They always made Christmas very special. But I don't know, my mom was just always the one that if I wanted a certain toy, she would get me the economy version of the toy or the alt version, and probably because it was, my mother is a great saver, like that's, they didn't make a lot, but that's why they ended up okay, because she was. But anyway, so I probably gave more of a wish list of the things I wish I got. And I broke it down into different categories. So I'll start with dolls. There was a doll by the name of Dapper Dan.
Dapper Dan.
And Dressy Bessie was the female version. And these were like, I did remember getting this at like 3, and it taught you how to dress. So you would button he would have a vest that got buttoned. Then I think he had a sweater on that would be snapped with buttons. Then a sweater would be regular buttons. I think he had shoelaces on his feet. Let's see, Dapper Dan. That's more recent. The one with the circles around under the eyes.
Got it.
The rosy cheeks. That's my guy.
These.
You know what? I have to give a shout out, you guys. eBay. Forgetting when it says technology is not amazing. It's so great to have an eBay because any of the stuff you want, you just go grab.
Wow.
Because you know it's available. There he is. There's
So
my
this is
guy.
for boys.
Yeah. Well, there was the boy version on the left and the girl version on the right.
Okay.
He was my best friend growing up. I just remember
Aw.
and like that was my stuffed animal probably of choice. He was my guy.
Did you call him Dan?
I just Dapper Dan. No,
Dapper
he was
Dan?
no by his full
Use
name.
his proper name,
Yeah,
please.
thank you,
enough,
Aaron. Thank you, Aaron.
Daniel.
He didn't go to 4 years of Dapper school to be called just Dan.
Exactly. So I didn't own a G.I. Joe, but I wanted one. And then he was this army guy. And in my childhood, you guys, like guns and army, it was cowboys and Indians. You'd play army, cops and robbers.
Right.
It was just all about guns and violence and glorifying the wrong people probably that needed to be. But G.I. Joe, spoke to that. And then there was G.I. Joe with the Kung Fu grip. So he had like his little hands were rubbery, so he could like hang on to something.
Wow.
That was the big thing. I did not own one, but I wanted one.
Those ones look like Chuck Norris.
Yeah, they're all and before Chuck. Yeah, but
Yeah.
that's exactly that's very astute. Then this is kind of a doll, but Stretch Armstrong.
Yeah.
So was that around during your time?
I feel like not. I feel like around in the cultural consciousness. Like,
Yeah.
I feel like
But no one owned it.
I know what
Yeah.
Stretch Armstrong is.
Yeah, me too.
But no one owned
And
it.
my parents have said that they played with it, but
Yeah.
I've never seen one.
I've
in
never
real life.
seen one.
Yeah, so you could basically just pull him in all different directions. He
Kind of
was
like Gumby. Is that
Yeah.
the
Well, you
or-
couldn't pull Gumby. Gumby was bendable.
Yeah.
This guy you pull and stretch. He's more like Mr. Fantastic or the Fantastic Four.
Gotcha.
Yes.
Um,
Okay.
Very popular at the time. The popular doll that I wanted and didn't get was Evel Knievel.
Oh, there's an Evel Knievel doll.
So you know Evel Knievel, but Erin, do you know Evel Knievel? Oh, wow, interesting. Ryan, do you know Evel
Motorcycle
Knievel?
guy.
Daredevil, yeah.
So he, it's funny, after Evil went evil and took a bat to somebody and got convicted of a few crimes, they just took all his toys off the market. But his doll was amazing, but what was more amazing was his bike. So his bike would go on to a this platform that you would crank, and that would get kind of the speed of with the little motor on the bike going. Then you'd flip the switch, and off the bike would go. You know what? Pull up a commercial.
Pull up a commercial?
Let's do a commercial.
Wow.
Absolutely.
And he could go over ramps. I mean, it was so cool. And then I think he even had a bus that you could get, which was like the super rich kids probably get. Again, I didn't have one. I wanted one so bad. There was another one called TTP, Turbo Tower of Power. Again, I got that version, which was pumping air into the engine and releasing it rather than cranking it.
Wow.
So there's Evil.
These are fun.
Yeah, see. There we go. You crank it up, Aaron. Look at this.
Wait, this is amazing.
Right?
In Toy Story 4, Keanu Reeves plays a character called Duke Kaboom. That's like a rip-off of this, basically.
Nice.
It's the same thing.
See, Jeff?
I love
So
it.
it's still around. I mean, kids today would know it from Toy Story 4.
Yeah.
See,
it is.
okay, now look up TTP Turbo Tower of Power. So I'll show you, unfortunately, the Kathy Indigaro version of it. That was the economy version. And I remember I used it once, and it was amazing. Then I went a second time, and it went into a wall, and it snapped, and it broke, and that was it. And that was it, yeah.
That's sad.
Sadly, yes. The other thing, is you look that up, superhero action figures
Yeah.
were really big at the time, and not today's are much more involved. These were they'd have cloth uniforms. Yeah, that's it. There's my that's the cheap one I got. There's no commercial for that, huh?
Kevin, is that you in the top right?
Yes. And by the way, see those hairstyles, those Dutch boy haircuts?
boy.
That's how my hair was. Yeah.
Adorable.
Yeah.
Perfect bowl cut.
But the superhero action figures were great, like the Justice League, and I had obviously, well, if you know me, I'm a big fan of Batman. I had the Batman one. I think I did. Well, you know what? Maybe I didn't have that either. Maybe you know what? I don't think I did. You know what? I think something tells me I got Aquaman. That no one would. No. Aquaman back then was not cool, you guys. Aquaman on the Super
Aquaman's
Friends.
really cool now.
He's not?
Not really.
What's the new movie?
Jason
Jason Momoa is cool, but like,
even still,
of
it's
the
like
superheroes.
okay, Aquaman.
Yeah,
what
it
are you
was.
gonna
I
do?
mean, like all
I'm not
he
in the
ever.
ocean. You can't get me.
If you ever watched the Super Friends in the 70s, he just sat in an invisible jet next to Wonder Woman and did nothing. It was awful.
He doesn't have any powers if he's on the ocean.
Transition. Oh, so talking about the motorcycles and stuff. Getting back to the Hot Wheels, there was also Matchbox cars, and I feel like with Hot Wheels they had their tires were made in a way that you could race them more, and a Matchbox was a little bit more for looking at in show. I had and they lasted longer. The Hot Wheels wheels would bend, but these are the Matchboxes, and I actually collected these for a long time, and I was nerdy enough to get a case for them, and I kept collecting them. I think even all through high school, I've always in certain probably all the wrong areas I've been ahead of my time, and that was one of the things I was ahead on, as I knew enough that these things were cool, and I was like, wow, they're doing like, they're doing today's cars but in Matchbox form. I'm like, someday that's going to be really cool to look at. I don't know, a 1982, I don't know, Plymouth Duster, if they even made it back then. That's fun. But the Hot Wheels, which Vito mentioned, is fun because you can put tracks together and you can race them. Now, it's only gravity. You just roll them down the track and they go, or you push them. See, there's the Hot Wheels tracks. Again, Vito probably grew up with a few bucks in his pocket, so he got a nice little stuff like that. I do not have that. I think my older brother had Hot Wheels. The other thing that I think is a little forgotten is slot cars.
Slot cars?
So look up slot cars. So Ryan, these are electric racing cars, so none of your childhoods would touch with slot cars.
No, I had slot cars.
Ryan did.
No, see, Ryan, because your dad was... You and Vito, like your dads were, they basically, I think, put their childhoods into you in the most amazing way.
Yeah.
By the way, their music, everything you tell me,
For sure.
it rubbed off. But slot cars were fun, and I remember my nephew asking him, do you want these? He's like, no! And I remember just saying, I remember buying it, and once we played with it, he loved it.
Yeah.
But he was more into video games and things like that. And I'm like, but these are 3D physical cars you put on a track, you've got a remote control, and then there's a skill to
racing them.
Because if you race them too fast, they're going to fly off the track. If you go too slow, you're going to lose the race. So it's kind of fun.
It does sound fun.
It's fun. Tyco trains, electric trains. Well, did that touch your childhoods, any of you?
Sort of.
I remember like my cousins having them, but I didn't have them.
What, the nerd ones?
Well, the boys. I fell into that thing of like, only getting girl toys,
Girly
whatever,
toys.
which is so dumb. It's kids. Let kids play what they want. But I was self-conscious, and I was like, oh, I don't want to play with boyish things because I don't want people to think I'm a boy.
Again, the more time
so
goes by,
dumb.
the more I'm starting to realize the argument for not doing gender appropriation and
it's
letting
dumb.
people live, right, and do
Yeah.
what
I
they
think
want.
nowadays they are better probably about that, like marketing things to kids, not so much. I mean, they still definitely do it, but
Fun is fun. All right, so
exactly.
Ryan, did you Tyco trains? Did you remember Tyco trains?
Oddly enough, toys and Christmas with me, it's interesting. I was obsessed with building the train that would go around the tree. That was my thing.
Yeah.
I never play with trains just for joy, like throughout the year. It
So
was
what do you
always a
mean?
Christmas thing.
Building a model.
Building a
A
model.
model tree, yeah.
Like we had like a designated train for the tree. Like we put it in the Christmas decoration
it's
bins.
around the Christmas tree. Okay.
So we have it go around the tree. I would put it like around the stump and everything. So that's what I was super into. But year round,
I love that. But you know what, Ryan? You really just touched on something. I think as I have children, and maybe even if before I do, I think I'm going to put that around my tree.
Oh, you
Yeah.
should.
What a
great
It's so
idea.
much fun.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it makes it feel like a Christmas town.
Do you remember, was it the Tycho train, which was the tracks that were like 1.5 inches wide, or was it the Lionel trains, which is the wider track and the
So,
bigger train?
We had both. We did both. Yeah, so we had trains on trains. So we had the wider one at the base because there just naturally wasn't as much track as the other one, and the other one had so much track we could even go around that train. So they'd be going opposite directions.
How
it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, and they have ones that smoke.
Oh
you know,
yeah, smoke comes out, a little like
Yeah.
dust. Oh, the best.
I'm so in on this now. You know, so my dad I remember he bought us like a 4x8 sheet of plywood, and I think he rolled some green, like fake grass paper on it, and then he stapled the track to that, and then we slowly would build little models of like a gas station, a restaurant, whatever. So it was kind of fun.
Yeah.
I definitely miss those. It takes up a lot of space. That's the only thing. Like I feel like we don't have the space we used to. Even though we have less kids and stuff, but maybe everyone's got between gyms and screening rooms and right, like in man caves. I feel like there's not the room for it anymore. But really good things. It was also the advent of computer games. So handheld electronic football, handheld electronic basketball, still fun.
I have to interrupt. I'm
Go
so
ahead.
sorry.
What's the matter?
I just remembered something. I totally lied about the trains. The thing for me as a kid was Thomas the Tank Engine.
Yeah.
That was
Oh.
the thing. Oh, that was my
All right,
world.
let's see.
I love Thomas. I'll pull up some images
Tell me
right
about
now.
Thomas the Tank.
So this is literally there was a little movie series called Thomas the Tank Engine.
I was a big Thomas fan too,
Yeah.
Ryan.
Yeah, and they just had it's trains with faces essentially, and they had a little storyline. So they would sell the trains, and you would build the tracks. Does this look at all familiar to y'all?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
There's
There's
TV
Thomas.
show. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's some crazy episodes where it's just them getting from point A to point B, and if there's like
So you had the toy set version of this?
Oh yeah, so the toy set was everything. I think it was the show was built around the toy set, where it would just be like these little wooden tracks that you could put together in any form, and you would collect the trains and you could just run them with your hands.
We had the wooden ones too. We called them Brio trains though, is what I had growing up. But
Right.
yeah.
I just remembered my dogs are gonna pee on this. They're gonna knock. There's no way they're gonna accept it. My shepherd, there's no way he's accepting this thing. It's gonna go around, and at first he's gonna be afraid, then he's gonna be annoyed, and then they usually find the act of bravery to whack it with the paw, and then they know it's on. Oh, I'm so sad. This
A
is
dream
so
created
cool.
and then died.
Just gone all in one podcast. Yeah, the handheld electronic games. So this was kind of my time. Look up the electronic basketball, handheld electronic basketball, handheld electronic football games.
Those were the
in
names.
the 70s. Yeah, so Pong came out. It's I know the famous first video game. So Pong had just come out, and then eventually we graduated to the 2600. But this was the time of electronics. Like we were thinking that we were entering the computer age. It was cool. So you had those handheld games which everybody had, and kids were so good at them. And again, they make new retro versions of these.
Wow.
And so much fun.
Well,
So
you
much
can
fun,
tell- You can tell it was the early days because the names of them were just what they were. So
Yeah.
it'd be like, do you have basketball for the Atari?
Yeah,
No, I've got
yeah.
football.
Yeah.
Now it's
Yeah.
like basketball 2019.
There it is.
East
Yeah.
Coast.
NFL.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had them for a while, and I used to put them on coffee tables in our house for people to just pick up and start playing.
That's fun.
I see
so
this now, and
cute.
I feel like I want to get it again. There was also Simon, which is still around.
Yeah, I love Simon.
So you love Simon.
Yeah.
You'll
Bop It
play
was
Simon?
kind of the evolution of Simon.
Yeah.
Did you ever see Bop It before?
No.
That was huge.
Bring up Bop It,
Oh,
Ryan.
Bop It's
Yeah.
the best.
Bop It
Bop
came
It.
up a lot when I was doing my
So
research.
why Bop It over Simon?
It's more
It was
dexterous.
more complicated.
Yeah.
There was instead of just like the color, Bop It had like different motions that you do. It was like pull it, twist it, bop it, which was like a button.
Flick it.
And it got faster and faster. And if you pulled the wrong thing, you would lose. And it kept track of your scores.
So you guys are just smarter. You just were.
It's certainly a variant of
Much
Simon,
more
though. This would
advanced.
not
Yeah.
exist if Simon didn't exist. It was just
Yeah.
more dexterous.
There was a game called Merlin.
Merlin.
Merlin was a handheld game that a lot of brain games. Bring up Merlin. Handheld.
Merlin.
And you could.
Like the Wizard Merlin.
That's what I was-
Yes.
Yeah.
And it would have, it almost looked like a giant phone,
Wow.
but like handheld phone, but from
yeah.
the old days. But it had a lot of fun games on it. You memory games. There's tic tac toe. There was a music thing. You could play songs on it. I mean, it was
Interesting.
Again,
I've never heard of that.
this is the beginning of it all, and then
Gosh,
the
it just
other thing that was
so 70s. That thing
I
is
know,
just,
right?
like stuck in
I
amber.
feel like I do need to make a case or something and get some of these to look at. I don't know. I don't know about your generation, but arts and crafts was really big, and I feel like it peaked. By the 80s, it peaked.
80s
but
peak.
like when we looked at the history of toys,
into crafts. We had a craft room.
well, but also like the craft toys. So it's like, there was obviously Etch-a-Sketch.
Yep, we have I had an Etch-a-Sketch.
Yeah, okay.
I did too.
Do you remember Light Bright?
Yeah.
Yep.
We had a light bright.
You had a Light Bright.
Yep.
Okay, very good. So timeless.
What was the one? It was like a pictograph. Like it had those.
Rembrandt.
Maybe a Rembrandt.
It was called Rembrandt. Yeah, right. And then there was Spirograph.
That's what I was thinking of.
Spirograph.
Actually.
Rembrandt was an electronic thing that went and drew things.
Cool.
But Spirograph was amazing. Pull up Spirograph.
Those were
you
really
guys have
cool.
that
And you
one-
remember that, Jeff? That was you. Yeah, your family had you do that.
Did they?
You did Spirograph?
Yes, we did. Yes,
Wow.
growing up.
Did you guys have spin art, which was
Yes, I have
would
it here
go
on my
around,
list.
Yeah, it would go
You had
around and
spin
you
art.
put paint on it.
Yes.
It was so messy.
So messy, but you had cool stuff that would come out of
Yeah.
it. I remember I had a rock polisher, a rock tumbler. You'd put all the rocks in, and I know, Jeff, you're laughing. You thought you were the only nerd.
I'm being condescending.
And
rock polish. You just put rocks in it.
and they then polished them so you could make jewelry out of it. and
Yeah, that
stuff.
is cool. That is cool.
It was
Okay.
totally cool.
I'll give you that
And
one.
you'd be so surprised when they're done polishing, like
look
how
nice.
good they look. Yeah.
Okay, all right. I'm like so in, Kevin.
The other thing that was really big, Radio Shack at the time, was the 1001 electronic kit, the 101 electronic kits. Do you remember these?
I don't know if this is.
See if you can pull one out. So this is totally like dead by the 80s. But yeah, Radio Shack would have these kits, and you could test batteries. I mean, it's kind of mindless, but I do think that the kids that I knew that were
Wait.
that ended up becoming
That
good
looks
with
like a bomb.
today's
It's a Hurt Locker. Yeah.
I love the Hurt Locker.
and this is a newer one, by the way. But but the funny thing is, the friends that were into it were the ones that were brainy. Ended up going on to do things in tech.
I'm sure.
Kind of interesting.
This
I
was
mean,
the litmus
yeah.
test for should I be friends with this person in 20 years?
Yeah.
I always admired them. I always
That's
wanted
what
to be friends
I'm
with these
I'm
people.
saying. They're the ones that are going to be running Silicon Valley.
I feel like and there's a lot more in the arts and crafts field. And like at some point, we're going to do a dangerous toys, and we're going to do but the chemistry sets also. Did you
made
have
some
one?
notes. No, I made some notes on chemistry set. In 1969, it was the #1 selling toy, and they
Yeah.
had versions that had like cyanide and
It was
acid in it.
amazing.
And like,
Yes!
you could literally
Yes!
make explosions by accident if you were stupid, or on purpose if you were really smart.
It was such a wonderful time. Just everything was black and white. Just I mean, speaking with the transition over to guns and chemistry sets, I do but they were just petering out in my generation.
Yeah.
But guns, you guys, toy guns, cap guns
Nerf?
were
I mean,
huge.
yeah, Nerf
No,
guns.
not Nerf. These you go into a liquor store with these, Jeff? Like you're walking out with a bag of money. Like these were.
Did you have a Red Ryder BB gun?
What's that?
A Red Ryder BB gun?
I did not. No, you
try out.
got
Try
from
out.
Christmas Story. Yeah. No.
That was real.
I
They
didn't
really
have-
sold those.
Of course they did.
Yeah.
So in the back in the day, that was the thing, getting a gun. Like remember, like we were a hunting community. You know, and it was after World War II. It was that we finally had some excess mixed with the old days of being hunters and gatherers, so to speak, and farmers. And it was like, and that's where, now add in drugs and LSD of the 60s in excess, and you just see it all come out, the train just come off the tracks. But yeah, guns were huge. Cap guns. So you put in these, this roll of caps.
We had those.
With the roll of
And
paper caps?
Yeah.
Yeah, you
and
had
they
those?
pop. Yeah.
Aaron? No.
No. I mean, I knew kids that had BB guns, I think.
But that's BB guns, that's not caps.
Yeah, no.
Those were fun.
So cap guns, and then they had machine guns. If you go on eBay and look up toy guns, you're gonna be shocked.
I'll Google guns. No,
Yeah.
eBay toy guns.
Toy guns, even vintage toy guns. You're gonna be shocked. And then what they started doing in like the mid '80s, they started putting a red. Kind of a red cap, an orange cap on the nose of the gun. So
would know it was a
okay,
toy.
we know it's a toy. I mean, by the way, cut that thing right off and you're good to go. So these have the red caps. So there's even older ones. So is that under vintage guns? You found that picture?
I'm
Now look
pulling up
at
the
we've got a
vintage.
machine gun, a sharpshooter, a pistol.
Yeah,
I
you
thought they were
gotta-
called cap guns because of the cap.
Some of them because they shot caps.
Oh, this is a toy.
Others were just toys that would just snap. Then there's a different kind of cap that came out in the 80s that was actually plastic caps that you could even speed load.
Right.
Wow.
You know,
It's horrifying.
It's a
horrifying.
little scary.
This is
yeah.
when we were tough.
But we would make movies with these because they sounded like cap guns sounded.
Oh yeah,
bang.
yeah.
We used to film little.
But this, you guys, this was it was always, let's play cops and robbers, let's play cowboys and Indians, or let's just go out and play guns. So how many times you'd put on army helmets and your guns and you'd go out into the woods before the child molesters, before all the jokers.
We're lurking in the woods.
Right,
We could just shoot 'em. You're
before our
fine, you're
society
protected.
went so far off the rails that we raised so many jokers out there that you couldn't go out and do that stuff. But back then, yeah, that was it. And then you've got the Slinky and Silly Putty, right? You guys still familiar with those?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had Silly Putty. Did you ever do the thing where you put it on a newspaper and made the
Yeah.
ink come off?
Yeah.
And then you stretch it.
Yeah.
Fun. I mean, like fun. And I'm wondering, Silly Putty and Slinky,
Yeah, they still have those.
they have them, but are they popular? I wonder.
I'd say Silly Putty has been kind of replaced by like Nickelodeon styled gaff.
Yeah, there's slime. Slime is the biggest thing now.
So my friend owns slime.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have
Yeah.
him come in. He just recently reconnected me. Yeah.
Amazing.
And I'll have him come in and talk.
Great.
And so he has a lot of toys, but that's his big thing. He's the #1 producer of slime.
There you
Wow.
go.
So
Yeah.
like I met him at this big kind of retreat with all these well-to-do people, and he's like, oh yeah, I'm the biggest creator of slime.
Wow.
I'm like, that is so freaking
Well, you can make
cool.
slime at home. They sell all these slime kits now, but when I was a kid,
Borax.
my mom, she used to have us make it with borax and glue, which that's kind of dangerous because borax is poison.
Right.
But borax and glue and like food coloring,
Yep.
it's easy to make. You don't need to buy
Here's
a
the
kit.
thing with the slime, it seems so gross to me,
It is gross.
right?
But kids
I
like
was
gross
kind of
stuff.
into that stuff.
Yeah, kids
but
like
then,
that.
but I also feel like when it gets handled, it gets
Yeah, it
kind
gets
of
stuff stuck
greasy.
in it.
A lot of
and
pet
stuff.
hair.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
That's the thing. The fun is making it. You don't really play with it that much.
Unless
it's fun
you're
to
me. And then
Well,
you play with it a lot.
yeah.
we didn't really talk about Fisher Price had their little figures. Do you remember Fisher Price?
I had
figures?
actually the little figure.
Oh, little egg things.
No, that's Weebles.
Oh, Weebles.
Fisher
Yeah.
Price. That was
Did
more
you have
for
Weebles, Aaron?
toddlers
No,
though.
I think I did. I had some version of it.
Gotcha.
They wobble, but they don't fall down.
Yeah.
That was a big scam with them.
Yeah.
Slime me.
They slime
Oh,
me.
nice.
Yep.
From Batman, I think, right?
No, it's
Ghostbusters.
Oh,
Ghostbusters.
Ghostbusters,
Yes.
yes.
Yeah.
And then, there's so many board games.
Oh, yeah.
Life, Monopoly, Scrabble, I did have those in my childhood. Those are still big. Do you remember a game called Kerplunk?
Yeah. I played that with my
I never
grandparents.
played.
Yeah,
R.I.P.
Yeah, so they...
It was in their basement. I loved
Yikes.
Kerplunk. That was
So-
like when I was a kid. I was like, we've got to play Kerplunk with Gammy and Grandpa.
Okay, but did anyone else play it? So I think it was more of a
I didn't
generational
have
game.
Kerplunk, no.
No,
Never
Ryan?
heard of it in my entire life.
Yeah.
It's like a bomb.
So a lot of these games you're hearing about because grandparents had it in their basements because mom and dad played with them.
Yeah.
Oh, they have kind of a version of this where you pull the sticks.
Yes.
They have a version of it called Wet Head where you put water in it and you put
Oh,
it on your
yeah.
head and then you have to pull different sticks and then if you pull the wrong stick, you get splashed.
Oh, I like
Wow.
that.
Yeah.
That's actually that's a fun
Wet
take
Head.
on
I
it.
think it's called Wet Head. It's a
Do you remember?
really creative
Okay,
name.
there's a game called Mousetrap.
Yeah.
Yes, and it
Yes.
never
Wait.
worked.
Never worked.
And you guys knew about Mousetrap?
I had Mousetrap and it never worked once.
Never worked.
Right, and it's like no one ever played the game.
No.
Right.
You only set it up to see the whole thing happen.
And it never did.
And for me, I never saw it work, number one. And number two, someone always lost one or two of the parts.
Yeah. The most important parts.
Can you look up, are they still making Mousetrap?
I think they are.
Come on.
I mean, I had it as a kid.
I
did
bet you
too.
they've worked out. I bet you they've worked out some
I
of the
mean-
defects, right?
If it didn't work for Aaron.
Yeah, it didn't work when I was a kid. I
They've
mean,
had
I'm sure they
50
have like
years.
an electronic version of it now, maybe.
Yeah.
But it only worked in the commercial.
Well, Kev, you know Monopoly's on credit cards now.
What
I
do
don't know if you
mean?
knew that. So like, there's no bankers. Everyone has their card, and you just pay for properties. and-
Really?
yeah, it's electronic. You just put it in
gosh.
the.
Oh, I'm in. No, because Maria plays all these new age games, and I never play.
Yeah.
I usually am the judge.
Yeah.
Or I just go and do whatever.
What are her new age games?
Oh boy.
No, the stuff that you're into too, Jeff, I'm sure. What are the modern games?
Catan,
Catan.
What else?
Ticket to Ride,
I don't know. I'm not a
Epidemic, Pandemic.
Yes,
I mean.
Yeah.
play all
Pandemic.
those.
Maybe
Yeah.
Pandemic. What is it like? What?
Oh, Codenames. That's a fun one.
Yeah.
What's the one about you say all these inappropriate things?
Cards Against Humanity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Apples to apples.
Yeah, that's the kid version of Cards Against Humanity.
So I mean, I told her I'll get back in on Monopoly. I like this Monopoly credit card.
It makes
thing.
it faster.
Yeah.
And easier and cleaner. So do you remember Trouble?
Yeah, loved it.
You guys played Trouble?
Yeah, with the little.
Oh, yeah.
trouble.
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
Sorry was what I loved.
Sorry's amazing.
Sorry just teaches you to be a jerk to your friends.
Right, you're
Sorry.
Hungry Hippos.
Loved.
Oh
I
my
had that.
gosh.
Battleship.
Yeah,
Yes.
didn't play, but around.
I had
Personally.
Battleship.
Yeah.
Battleship. Okay. Aaron, you played it.
Yeah.
Really?
I think we had a different version of it, but it's the same kind of principle where you like put
G4.
Yeah.
You sunk my battleship.
Yeah.
And Stay Alive.
No, I've never heard of
Bee
that one.
Gees, yeah.
Ryan, please.
Stay Alive
is a fun game. Stay Alive was a bunch of marbles would be on a kind of a little contraption, and you'd pull different levers, and the goal was to have the marbles fall.
Interesting.
There it is.
Never seen
And
this.
looking forward if people could play.
Looks like Chinese checkers.
That's a good way to keep kids amused quietly for a while.
Okay.
Interesting.
Kind of like Connect 4?
No, because you're not making connection. You're trying to sync all the colors. Like let's say you're
Gotcha.
all the blue marbles on the white marbles. I'm trying to sync all your blue marbles.
Oh, that sounds fun.
Yeah.
It is fun. And then of course I came around for the Star Wars toys when they began, and this is where I was made fun of a lot. But I was from junior high and high school on. I kept buying and collecting them. And that was back when no one was.
That was the most popular toy in 1977 when first movie.
Okay, so Erin, I want to turn it over to you because I know you did a lot of research, and we didn't tease this at the top, but Erin's gonna take us through generations, like by decades, right? So some of the most popular toys by the decades. All right, intern Elf Erin, you have the comm.
Thank you. So, starting in the 1910s, the teddy bear was the biggest thing. There weren't really many other toys, but I mean, teddy bear, they still make versions of today.
Named after whom?
Teddy Roosevelt.
Very good, Erin.
Thank you.
And by the way, wasn't it a better time when kids didn't have toys and didn't have childhoods? Get up, go to work, get married at 15, die at 30, done.
Don't go to the Triangle Shirtwaist Factory.
Yeah, we were happier.
Yeah.
Right, go ahead.
Yeah. So then in the 20s, there was Yo-Yos, Tinker Toys, and Raggedy Ann. Those were the big ones.
Right. So yo-yos, I don't know the popularity of yo-yos now, but yo-yos in the 70s, the 60s and 70s had a crazy resurgence. And the company Duncan made all different models. And the big thing was like there was one model that lit up. There was one that was glow in the dark.
Glitter.
There was one that, they all had different looks. And everyone wanted to collect them all. Once again, I didn't have them. But I know a lot of the cool people who did. And can you look up, do people still yo-yo?
I'll look it up. I also know that Burgermeister, that was the toy he wanted.
That's right.
Yo-yo.
So yo-yo was in the 20s.
Yeah, that was when they first
And then
were.
Tinker Toys, have you guys heard of Tinker Toys?
Yeah.
Oh, were they around?
More like Lincoln
Yeah.
Logs. Lincoln Logs were more
versions of it, but
Yeah.
not like actual Tinker.
Sometimes we had my buddies had Tinker Toys, but we would always Lincoln Logs. That was what we.
The other thing we didn't mention is erector sets.
Erector sets?
Yes. You ever hear these?
Sounds bad.
Yes. Now, children.
I heard it too.
Erector sets.
Erector sets.
So what it was
Those are actually based off the president as well. No, anyway. Erector sets.
Lincoln Logs?
erector sets were pieces of metal with nuts and bolts.
Okay.
And so you would literally be able to put together these different great structures. And again, I just think like for kids that were mechanically inclined,
Yeah.
it was a great toy that spoke to that probably the 60s and 70s. And by the way, toy tools were like a big deal. All right, Erin,
Okay.
I'm sorry.
So then the 30s and 40s kind of got lumped together because it was the Depression
war.
and the war. So not that many toys, but there were a few. They had Shirley Temple dolls, which were really big, based on Shirley Temple, the actress.
Right.
The Red Ryder BB gun, that was big. Slinky, Lego, and Legos also came out during that time.
With
And
Legos
so,
and Slinkies with 30s.
30s and 40s, yeah.
Damn, and it's incredible when you can create something that can make it 100 years.
Yeah, that's true.
It'd still be fun.
Yeah, so then moving on to the 50s, there was Hula Hoop, Mr. Potato Head, and Barbie were the biggest things.
Barbie? Is that
Yeah.
right?
And the
Barbie's
original
in the
Mr.
50s.
Potato Head was actually just
potato.
little pins that you would put into a potato.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, so what happened was, and what ended up happening was is that it was dangerous, the pins. And then
And also, you don't want to waste a potato.
And you want to waste a potato. Erin, you did your research. Good
Yeah.
girl.
So then getting into the 60s, there's more, data being collected and a lot more toys. So the 60s, there was Etch-a-Sketch and Knock'em Sock'em Robots.
Rock'em Sock'em Robots. I should have mentioned that
Rock'em
one.
Yeah.
And you guys, they're around today.
Yeah.
And there was also the Easy Bake Oven in 1963. A lot of games came out. There was also G.I. Joe. A lot of games. There was Operation, Twister, Battleship, Light Bright. I guess that's not really a game. That's more of a toy. But this was also the decade of chemistry sets, which we touched on before, which are very dangerous.
We'll go more in depth during
Yeah.
our Dumb and Dangerous Toys episode.
But that was an interesting thing. That was marketed exclusively towards boys, and then girls were like, "We want to play with this too." They were like, "Fine," and they made a pink set, and they called them lab assistants, and they couldn't even be the chemist.
my
They were the lab
God.
assistant.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Office eye candy assistants.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my goodness.
And it was all pink chemicals. So then getting into the
Oh my God, you guys! You know what? We have to see if that's available on eBay. What's it
a
called?
girls just like laboratory assistant set, girls versions of a chemistry set.
Wow, Brian, Google that.
So getting into the 70s, there were hippity hops. Did you guys have hippity
Yes!
hops? The balls with the
Yes.
little thing and you bounce on them. I had that.
You had a hippity hop?
Yeah, I did.
Was it new or was it your
Oh, it
parents?
was new. No,
It was new.
It would have popped. It's like a plastic ball.
Right, with a handle,
Yeah,
and then it
you
was
bounce on it.
Hippity Hop Junior.
Mine had a face on it.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
And
Hippity hop.
yeah, there you go. See, Jeff, there's Hippity Hop.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Aaron
Totally.
had a Hippity Hop.
There was actually an episode of Friends where Phoebe wanted to hippity hop like a mile. That was one of her like resolutions before she turned 30 or something.
Yeah, we have these still.
Yeah, they're still around. 1975 was the year of the pet rock. Did either of you have a pet rock?
I did not.
No.
I had my
My mother
Tamagotchi.
would have said,
Yeah.
"That's a rip off."
Because
Yeah.
it is. It's a rock.
Yeah, that's all it is.
Brilliant marketing.
Star
move.
Wars figurines. Simon Says. 1979. The Atari VCS.
Oh, Simon Says is a ventriloquist doll.
Oh.
Those were really big at the time, the ventriloquist dolls, and they were all different models of them.
Wow.
And they actually
Yeah.
worked really well, and they were fun because some family relative could always grab it and entertain all the kids. My dad would do it in our family. But yeah, Simon Says, very
Yeah.
good. Oh, what else?
So getting into the 80s, there was the Rubik's Cube. There was Cabbage Patch Kids.
Yep.
With the
Jenga.
craze.
Yeah.
Craze.
Jenga came
and
out.
Jenga's still alive.
Totally.
They had also versions of laser tag that you could play at home with like little vests and guns. The gun craze where you could like shoot each
I
other.
did a lot of laser tag as a
You
kid.
did?
Yeah.
At places or like at home? At
Personal
home?
laser challenge is what
Yeah.
they called it. But yeah, you had
Interesting.
sensors and
Yeah.
Wow.
I only played it growing up like at a place, at a laser
Right.
tag place.
Yeah.
There's the Game Boy in 1989.
Wow.
So getting into the 90s, 1992, the Barbie Dream House. That was the big one. I don't think I had a Barbie Dream House. I had an off-brand like Polly Pocket Dream House.
Oh,
but
yeah, you were like me, my
Yeah.
family. Yeah. Weird.
Yeah, in 1993, the biggest thing was the Talk Boy,
Yep.
which was a fake prop invented for Home Alone 2, and then they made it in real life. It's like a combination, like voice recorder and video recorder, and they made it for Kevin and as a prop, and then it
This is a talk boy here.
Love
yeah
my Talk
it turned
Boy.
into
Wait,
a real
you had
thing.
one?
Yeah.
You did?
Really, Jeff?
I'm the right age for this.
Yeah.
Wow.
1995 Beanie Babies.
Oh,
Yeah.
That was the big thing.
I have some Beanie Babies that are worth thousands of dollars.
Me too.
Yeah.
I mean, everyone thinks their Beanie Babies are worth money, but if everyone has them, how can they be worth
Well,
money?
but do you have Peanut?
No.
Exactly.
Okay, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to diss your Beanie Babies.
I have Trump
But-
beanie.
Do you?
Yes.
We'll bring
Yikes.
him in for next.
All right,
Yeah.
good.
He's huge.
There were a lot of Beanie Babies. 1998, the year I was born, was the Furby. And I have
Oh,
specific
terrifying.
memories of the Furby. My
So scary.
my mom's grandmother was in a convalescent home, and she had a Furby on her like nightstand, and I wouldn't go visit her because I was so afraid of the Furby.
Well, here's the theory about Furbies. Will you pull up a photo really quick, Ryan?
Yes.
If you look at the top of the Furby,
oh boy,
there's
we're getting
something
into
very disconcerting. Do you see that little black thing above their eyes?
that it looks like a camera.
Theories that they were cameras from Japan and we
Oh
were being
my
spied
gosh.
on. And the idea is that, because all of them had a little lens at the top of their forehead,
Wow.
the idea is that we were all bugging our homes with Furbies and they were watching
That's
us at all
so funny.
times.
Oh my gosh.
It
I
wouldn't
mean,
shock me if
I didn't
America
want one
did this
anyway.
to ourselves, but they all had a little camera.
Wow.
They're terrifying.
Wow.
Yeah. So then getting into the 2000s was the Razor scooter. I had a Razor scooter when I was a kid, and I used to remember how bad it would hurt when you hit yourself in the heel with it.
Brutal,
that was the
'cause you'd
worst.
spin it.
Mhm,
I have
that
a
was
scar.
the worst pain. Yeah.
Oof.
I burned myself one time because I was going downhill and I was trying to press on the brake. I didn't have shoes on. I was pressing on the brake and it heated up and I like burned myself, and it was like either I burned myself or I crash and probably break my arm. That was bad. What else in the 2000s?
Pogo.
There was, I forgot to mention in 1996, Tickle Me Elmo.
Yeah.
That was the toy
Yeah,
of the year.
that's
People got into
right.
fights over
That's
it.
right.
I had a Tickle Me Elmo because my parents were aggressive, I guess. Also in the 2000s, this is when we're getting into like video games. So like the Nintendo DS, the Xbox 360, PlayStation 3, 2008 the Wii, there's the iPod Touch. So basically every year there's video games
Right.
for
Kind of
kids.
sad.
It is, but now there's more toys. But I feel like these kind of toys are being marketed to like littler kids. Like, have you guys ever heard of a Zuzu pet? It was these little hamster things, and you would press on them, and they would like scoot around. That was a big thing. I remember. I really wanted them. In 2013, there was this thing called Texta the robotic puppy, and it was it was a puppy that played music, and it was a robot, and it would do flips. I remember I had something similar to that. I think like Apple also made a version of like a robotic dog. Yeah, there's a lot of like robot things now, like BB-8 from Star Wars. They make a robotic version of that.
I got it.
Yeah.
I remember Texta.
Yeah, the robotic puppy. And nowadays, what's really big is kids like to be surprised by things. So there's a lot of things that are like eggs or like little surprise toys that you buy the toy and you don't know what you're gonna get until you open it. So there's Hatchimals, which were like the crazy thing in 2016. I remember it was like you couldn't find them anywhere. Every kid wanted them. They were super expensive, and like people were selling on eBay for like $100. And it was an egg, and you like hatched it and you nurtured it, and you get like a surprise stuffed animal inside. And then there's also like things called LOL dolls, where they're little balls and you have tiny dolls in them. But that's what kids are into now.
Yeah, is it because, Aaron, you're the youngest one here, I'll ask you, is it because that everything is just so readily available today that they need something to surprise them in some way?
Yeah, I think it is. Like, it's like you can buy any toy you want, you can get it, but if you don't know what it is, then it's like, oh, it's cooler
And I
because
think
it's
also
like
because you have
you have
every toy.
you have the rare thing. Yeah.
I mean, we grew up in a time where it was birthdays and Christmases. That was it. You never received a toy. And I feel like today it's just, I want it. Okay.
Here it is.
Here it is. You know, so I feel like, right? Do you feel like that's...
I mean, yeah, I think it's like if you collect all the certain Hatchimals that you can get or whatever, then it's more because you have the money to buy a bunch to like try it out and see which ones you can get. It's like a Wonka bar. You have the money to
right. Keep
open it
buying
up to
them
see if you
until
get the
your
golden
gold
ticket.
one.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe that's it. Maybe it's because of the fact that everything's just so available
Maybe.
that they need the curveball. Erin, excellent job.
Thank you.
Outstanding. All right, we have to start now. So we're gonna in future weeks we'll go over dangerous stories. We also have to go over shopping habits. You know, I
Yes.
know my generation different from yours and probably different from Erin's. How we went about writing our Christmas list. But Jeff, what do we have next for queued up?
Well, yeah, we just scratched the surface on toys, so I'm sure we're going to do, as they say, we'll unwrap more toy boxes later in the show. But let's get into our store decoration watch, guys.
Later in the series.
Later in the series, yes,
We have to
thank
go
you.
home at some point, Jeff.
Yeah. That's my brain's a little slow today,
I mean,
guys.
we could sit here today and talk about toys for
Yes.
hours. We got it.
But I will say, I have a store decoration watch update.
Okay.
Very exciting. This is a very married statement, but I was at the Crate and Barrel at the Grove the other day.
Okay.
And there's a little holiday section now at the Grove, scented candles, some garland stuff.
At the Crate and Barrel.
At Crate and Barrel at the Grove, yeah. So for you LA natives or non-LA natives, the Grove is one of the central shopping destinations for Los Angelinos.
And does
very bougie.
And does a magnificent job of celebrating the holidays.
They do.
They put up a giant tree, and they have fake snow that happens periodically
Yes.
throughout the holiday season. The Americana does as well because Caruso owns that property as
Is that
well.
the Glendale?
Yes.
Yeah, great.
But great places to visit. But okay, so for me, I was in San Diego at a CVS, and I saw one Santa Claus statue
Great.
in the CVS, and I took a picture of it and sent it. And so you know, I was very excited, very excited. So that was like my one sighting. Still heavy into Halloween, which is great. Jeff, you're going to be the girl from Theranos? Or?
Yes, I'm going to be Elizabeth Holmes for Halloween this year.
Ooh,
Elizabeth
that's
Holmes,
exciting.
yeah.
I don't know what I'm going to be.
Aaron?
I have no idea. I have to think about it.
Ryan, what are you going to be?
I was discussing this with someone over the weekend, and everyone is telling me, I don't know if you watch Fleabag, but they were recommending I be
Hot
a
priest?
hot priest.
Oh,
yeah.
yes, you should.
So
I love Hot Priest.
Hot Priest is the one right now. We'll see.
Is that
if
offensive?
changes. I don't know if it's
don't think
offensive.
so.
Of course
frankly.
it is. Everything's offensive today. You guys, I'm nervous because I'm going as a. I got an old. I don't laugh. No, it's okay. I'm just.
You're prepping it perfectly.
No, it'd only be offensive to your generation, but everyone seems so offended by everything. I don't know. So I have an old uniform for a company, a fast food company. I don't want to give away too much, and
Okay.
and I don't know if it's going to be seen as I created a new term, work shaming.
Oh,
No.
So by work shaming, like people who work at that location back in the 70s.
Is the company
Even though I
still
worked
in
there too.
business?
Yes.
Are
No,
they-
I don't think
Polyester, very like.
That's fine.
Does it rhyme with McDonald's?
It could.
Okay. Well,
I love it.
no, I don't think that's bad.
I actually think that
I mean, Maria worked at Dunkin' Donuts for 6 years.
Yeah, it
You know,
humbles
like,
you. You know what? You
well,
started
everyone,
there.
It's just
Yeah,
everyone has to
everyone
start
starts
somewhere.
there.
Like, I'm not
Exactly.
embarrassed. I'm proud of it.
Absolutely.
I mean, I love those places.
Yeah.
It teach you so much, customer service, like speed, like having to like. No, I'm all. But I just again.
Yeah.
Aaron, now I'm
No.
going to always pick on you on this show because you're the youngest.
Yeah.
But you guys are so my little snowflakes, which who make Christmas wonderful because it's nice to have snowflakes
We
during
each have
Christmas.
our own shape.
Yeah.
But it's hard because everything is you're so offended.
Yeah.
Jeff, what else do we have?
Well, I have an update, very exciting update for the Christmas movie report. For you Hallmark fans, the Hallmark Movie Checklist app now is existing.
Wow.
And it has been updated to include all of the upcoming, highly anticipated festive premieres for Hallmark Channel's Countdown to Christmas 10th anniversary, say that 10 times
Whoa.
fast, and the Hallmark Movies and Mysteries Miracles of Christmas lineup. So if you haven't downloaded the app, definitely do it. It's helpful to keep track of all 40 Christmas movie premieres.
Wow.
Trust me, it can get overwhelming.
40 just this year. 40
just
new
this year.
ones.
Yep.
I can't.
They're all
I
very
feel like there's
different,
not
so-
physically time to watch every Hallmark movie ever made because they
course
come out.
there's
Get off
time!
the panel,
They
Aaron.
come-
Shame on you.
They come out with like 40 a year. And they've been doing it for 10 years. That's 400 movies. That's math I can't even
Well,
do.
I don't think. Here's the thing. I don't know if they're of the quality that you're gonna go back and watch.
Well, no, but I'm
reruns.
saying like, if you had to watch every movie, I don't think you. If
Had
you were,
to? If you would,
Oh, if you.
Exactly.
if you
Thank
want
you,
to.
Jeffrey.
if you want to
Duh.
wake up
We're
early in the
lucky
morning
enough.
while you're getting
I
ready.
physically don't think there's enough hours.
Aaron, I think this is for people who are home and people, I think who are in that point in their lives where they can invest this. But
I'm
I will
saying we
say,
should do that math to see if you were going to sit down and watch from start to finish every Hallmark Christmas movie they've ever made, how many hours that would take you.
Ooh, it'd be hard.
That'll be
Yeah.
next week.
Yeah.
Well,
okay. I've dug myself a
Here's
hole.
the thing. I think this is what I think. If you have a TV in your, whether it's in your living room or your kitchen, you just leave it on 24/7.
background, yeah.
So that's what I do.
Yeah.
And we have a dog room as well. So in the dog room, I put on the Christmas music station out here, KLOS, I believe it is, or maybe it's Coast,
For
KOST. Yeah.
Oh.
Right. That,
KLOS is like claws.
yeah,
Santa
but I don't know
Claus.
if it's I think it's KOST, Coast.
Ah.
But around November they go 24 hours of Christmas music until the first week in January, and it's amazing. And I put that on in the dog room, and then in the kitchen, I play the Hallmark movies. I will tell you guys, this is not necessarily a holiday hero moment, Jeff. And I don't know if it makes me a holiday villain either, but
Ooh.
but I think it makes me a holiday hero. Someone who worked for me, when they came into work, they were not very happy or very nice, and they
A Grinch. per
they
se.
would always shut off the Christmas music in the dog room.
Wow.
And I just
not
said,
nice.
you know what? Yeah, I think we need to part ways, and we did.
You fired him for not liking Christmas music?
I just, it was also the way the dogs. Yeah, I'm not there to be with them and protect them, and I don't. at the time didn't have cameras all over the house. I never believed in that anyway. Now it's more because we have robberies in the neighborhood. But I didn't want them around that energy. I didn't want them,
Yeah.
like,
Their anti-Christmas
and it was
Grinch
like the
energy.
person was only there for like an hour.
Yeah.
Like, come on. Like,
Deal
you
with
hate
it.
it.
Suck
You're
it
that
up.
angry. And
Yeah.
like, so I was like, nah.
Fair enough.
So, yeah. So that was my holiday hero moment.
Let us know in the comments, holiday hero or holiday villain. How do you feel about Kev?
Yeah.
Speaking of holiday hero, we have our final segment for the show. If I should go ahead and get into that. This is our holiday hero for this week, and it's a really moving story titled The Forgotten Present. So this is a story I directly read online. I was about 8 years old, and it was a couple days after Christmas. My mother had found a present she had bought for me in her closet. Instead of just giving it to me and have to be that, she snuck out on the back deck and threw it on the roof.
Oh my god.
Oh.
My parents called me out and showed me this gift, and my dad got on a ladder and spotted me while I got it down. I still remember having butterflies thinking, wow, Santa really came. Santa was up on the roof and this fell out of the sleigh. The gift was a pink Barbie camera. I'll never forget that feeling.
I had that pink Barbie camera. It was a Polaroid.
Is this your story? Aaron?
Yeah, it was. Oh my gosh, that's
I
crazy.
love
don't
the
remember
parents
telling
who
it.
go to that trouble.
I know. It
It's
makes
so
such a
cool.
difference.
But I tell you, if you're a gullible kid like me, it's a problem when you're 17, you're still hanging on to that story. No, now wait a second. You guys say there's no Santa, but
Yeah.
how would a Barbie camera be on the roof?
My
Little
parents did similar things. My dad, every Christmas morning, we would wake up and go into my parents' room, and my dad would always go downstairs first to make sure that Santa wasn't still there.
I love it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Did they have cookie crumbs out?
Oh yeah, they wrote us letters back that were in my mom's handwriting. Weirdly, Santa and my mom have like really similar handwriting, I guess. Yeah, that's weird. And we used to leave carrots for the reindeer, and they would take a
Yes.
bite out
Oh
of it.
yeah, love it. Well, successful show, guys,
Yeah.
right?
I'd like to think so. Ryan doesn't think so, but
Yeah, very successful show. We threw reindeer food outside every
I
day.
love
We
it.
had reindeer food too.
That was our thing.
Ugh, love it.
But yeah, no, very successful show, and I can't wait to talk more about the gifts we get. I mean, because toys and I feel like just Christmas gifts in general evolved over time so much, and what we really cared about during that time. And man, just like the amount of gifts that you would look forward to each Christmas, it's crazy. Like mine just changed so much over time.
well, we're creeping up to Halloween, you guys.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's just all stay the course. Baby steps, but there's going to be a mass acceleration after
I know.
Halloween. This host will be putting history up the day after Halloween.
I do think there's some exciting Halloween shows we have coming up. I would love to do a Costumes Through the Decades show.
Oh,
I would
yeah.
love to do a Costume Advice show.
Oh, costumes. So Aaron, I think we need you back.
Okay.
So, yeah, do you want to do that next week? Costumes of the decade?
I'd love that, right? Keep on the theme of history, and then we'll slowly transition to Halloween stuff. So,
And fans, let us know what you guys want us to
Absolutely.
cover. We'll jump in, do
Yeah.
our best. Let
So-
us know on YouTube, right?
yeah.
I've got these
Cool.
letters to deliver,
Yes.
and you better be getting home too. And remember, behave yourselves.
We will behave
Yes, Jeff.
ourselves until next week. It's been such a great show, guys. We thank you so much for joining in. Of course, this is the 6 months of Christmas exclusively on the Christmas 24/7 network on AfterBuzz TV. Captain Kevin and I have some things planned in the works, so hopefully some exciting announcements coming up for both the show and the network. And we thank our OG fans who have been here from day one about a month ago. So Aaron's one of them.
Yes.
So keep tuning in and make sure you subscribe because we will be adding more shows to the slate, more perspectives, and we know you're nutty about Christmas like we are.
Well,
so.
just let us know you're there. What do we have
Yes.
now? 71 subscribers?
84.
Oh,
Whoa,
great.
that's almost double since we started.
I love it. But stay tuned for some exciting Halloween shows. I know you guys are excited about the holidays, and of course, Christmas will always be a part of what we do. So, till then, guys, my name is Jeff Graham. Thank you so much for tuning in. Aaron, how about you?
My name is Erin Kazwan. You can follow me on Instagram if you want. Yeah.
how do you do
what?
that?
Yeah.
It's just Erin Kazwan. It's ERINKASWAN.
I love it.
Nice. At Undergaro on Instagram. And Jeff, you're at Jeffrey C. Crane?
Yeah, on Twitter, Jeffrey Seagram. Instagram,
Seagram.
Jeffrey Cranegram.
Jeffrey Cranegram, that's
Yes.
what's screwing up. All right, Ryan, where do we find you?
You can find me at Ryan Nilsen _ at RyanNilsen _.
All right, you guys. We'll see you next week.
Yeah.
From Chairman Elves Kevin Undergaro and Maria Menounos, we would like to thank you for tuning in. Until next time, do your best to make every day Christmas. Christmas! Ho, 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 ho!
Merry Christmas! Merry Christmas!